actually saw some works, and the title of the work though, I've seen so many work, like 3 or 4 works that I want to do something about it. Not really doing like in my own way. The title just inspired me, like, okay, this is like one of them upstairs. It says polygamist. So it just inspired me, and I see so many the shapes and colors, the flow of everything. It just inspired me.
Hello, thanks for joining me on another edition of your #1 sports business show, Sport Exchange. My name is Jide Olanero, and today it's going to be an exciting one because we will be talking to FIFA. Yes, anyway, we'll be looking at what FIFA has got to show for the last 1 year. In the build-up to the FIFA World Cup, and the FIFA president has been the cynosure of all eyes, and he said so many things, and because football is big business, and it is also a money-spinning one for that matter, we will be looking at some of the things that the FIFA president is looking at as far as football is concerned. But before we get to that, on our dugout segment, we will take the news first. And that will be after this timeout. Don't go away.
Fantastically finished.
Welcome back, straight to news, and we're starting from FIFA. FIFA has generated record revenues of $7.5 billion during the 4-year commercial cycle leading up to the Qatar 2022 World Cup. The Soccer Global Governing Body confirmed to media in Qatar that it had sold out all sponsorship packages for the tournament. The revenue figure eclipses the previous high set during the Russia 2018 World Cup by more than $1 billion and comes after the organization added YouTube, Visit Las Vegas, and Fine Hygienic Holding to the regional third-tier supporter category. And we move on, still talking about FIFA and the World Cup. Several Qatar 2022 sponsors have brought up contractual concerns with FIFA following its late decision to ban alcohol from stadiums during the World Cup, according to The Guardian newspaper. Under the direction of Qatari authorities, Soccer Global Governing Body was forced to initiate a late U-turn on alcohol sales at match venues. This is said to have initiated crisis talks with Anheuser InBev, which owns Budweiser and has a $75 million contract for the World Cup, which included branded stalls for beer sales at the tournament's venues. There are reports suggesting that Budweiser will demand FIFA knocks off £40 million from the fee the brewer paid to be tournament's official beer supplier. I'm still moving on now. Fox has denied its sponsorship agreement with Qatar Airways for its coverage of the 2020 FIFA World Cup, included complimentary flights for its production staff, following criticism that its broadcast of the opening game ignored many of the controversial issues surrounding the tournament. Conversation in the build-up to Qatar 2022 has been dominated by the country's human rights record, its treatment of migrant workers, and its suitability as a host for the event. Focus has narrowed on the host in recent days amid the abrupt decision to ban alcohol from stadiums and FIFA warning players who wore a One Love armband in support of the LGBT+ community would receive a yellow card. Viewers on Fox, which has the English language rights to the tournament in the US, noted that none of these issues were mentioned during its coverage of the opening match between Qatar and Ecuador. However, The Guardian notes that the channel did air an interview with the Secretary General of the organizing committee, Hassan Al-Tawadi, without mentioning the controversies, while also praising various elements of the tournament, including air conditioning and catering. Away from FIFA and the World Cup, the recent collapse of the FTX exchange, which counts some significant rights holders among more than 1 million individual creditors, will permanently alter the cryptocurrency sector's relationship with the sports industry. Coming in the wake of the similar funding issues amid the so-called crypto winter, the collapse of FTX potentially marks the end of a short but lucrative association between the world of sports and cryptocurrency firms. The rush from rights holders to sign deals with brands in the cryptocurrency space once looked like it could fill the sponsorship hole being created by tighter regulation on the betting industry. A senior executive at a major sport marketing firm has told Sport Pro Media, on the condition of anonymity, that cryptocurrency brands are not going anywhere, but there will now be a lack of confidence from the sports industry in doing deals with them. Going forward, there looks to be heightened scrutiny even on the firms that have shown good business practices up to this point. And finally, Formula One has announced the launch of Formula One Academy, an all-female support series aimed at developing drivers to compete at the highest levels of motorsport. The series will begin racing in 2023 and consist of 5 teams, which will be run by existing Formula 2 and Formula 3 outfits. 3 cars will be entered by each team to make a 15-car grid. The inaugural season is planned to have a 7 event of 3 races each, amounting to a total of 21 races, with 1 round likely to be in support of a Formula One Grand Prix. The full 2023 calendar will be revealed in due course. And that's the news beat. We'll go on a break again, and when I return, it will be the dugout segment where we'll be having the FIFA president,
Fantastically finished.
Yes, the world is celebrating the biggest football fiesta, and that is in Qatar, the Middle East. As the world celebrates that particular festival, the FIFA president Gianni Infantino has been in the eyes of the storm. Of course, there are stories about human rights, there are stories about bribery, there are stories about values clashing. And now we will have the man himself open up on so many things. And this is the dugout segment where Gianni Infantino will be talking to the world. All right, we're starting with this, about what Gianni Infantino feels about the clashes of culture. Looking at the fact that the world preaches inclusion, but feel otherwise about the way Qatar is going about it. This is what Gianni Infantino has to say about the values being kept by FIFA and the world.
It is good to stick to our values, and the most important value for us is that we are 211, and every one of us is the same. We are united with all our differences, with all our cultures, religions, whatever, but we are one. We are 211 who form one team only, and we have to stick to these values, protecting them, saying sometimes a few things, and then focusing, of course, again to what is most important to us, which is football. I would like to simply say as well at the outset that the World Cup, the FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022, will have, as you know, over 3 million spectators in the stadiums. We'll have 5 billion people watching the World Cup from home, so more than half of the world population will partly stand still, certainly in certain countries, but globally watching the spectacle that the players, the referees, everyone will bring to all the society. And we need, after the pandemic, moments where we can bring people together, because football unites the world. And this will simply be the best World Cup ever.
Okay, next we go to the financials. Football is a money-spinning sport, and it's good to hear from Gianni Infantino that FIFA has made about 7.5 billion US dollars in revenue, even though they've had to make expenses, that is expenditure of 6.5 billion US dollars, I beg your pardon. But they are not resting on their laurels. They are planning to make more and invest into the game. Let's listen to Gianni Infantino on what he says about how FIFA is making the money.
I would like to start with some financials about finance and solidarity to assure you, as I did already at the last Congress and as I do at every Congress, that FIFA is actually doing great. Our accounts are presenting very significant figures, and I can tell you now that whilst the budget of this four-year cycle, which ends on the 31st of September, was of 6.44 billion US dollars, the revenue that we have been able to generate in this four-year cycle, in spite COVID, in spite different crises around the world, is of, or will be, because it will be at the end of the year, of about 7.5 billion US dollars, over 1 billion more than what was budgeted, which was already higher than the revenues we had in the previous four-year cycle. When it comes to the expenses, because not only did we increase our revenues by over 1 billion, when it comes to the expenses, we have been able to reduce them. And instead of the budgeted 6.34 billion, we have had expenses only for 6.24 billion, with a potential outcome of 6.5, because we will make and agree already in this cycle to some additional investments, such as development programs and the like, which will be presented to you as well later on by Arsene Wenger and Jill Ellis. So this means, all in all, with 7.5 billion revenues and 6.5 billion expenses, solidarity payments, tournament organization costs, and so on, we will have basically a net result of 1 billion. 1 billion which we can again invest in football immediately, starting from now and for the next cycle, to make football grow even more around the world. So I would like to simply congratulate all of you, because these results are the results of the work that all of you are doing. It is very important in this particular situation to be able to present such amazing figures. Congratulations to all of you, congratulations to the Finance Committee, to the administration, to everyone, because I think it is really well done.
Okay, up next is the investment in the revenue made by FIFA. There is over 2 billion, yes, around for FIFA to play with, and they are planning on investing it back into football. Football actually made that money, so football should enjoy the money made. Over $2 billion to invest back into the game. Yes, you need to listen to Gianni Infantino explain the way they will be investing this.
And because we are doing so well, of course, we can invest more in our forward program, in our development program. And the global amount that we are investing in the next four-year cycle for football development increases actually as well. So from 1.75 billion to 2.25 billion. This is an increase compared to the Forward 2.0, so the previous cycle, of 29%. And this is before the 1 billion additional net result that we can show today. So there's certainly more to come in terms of football development. Concretely, and it's important, it's interesting to show this every now and again, this means for every association that instead of the $250,000 a year that you were receiving only in 2015, so before my election in 2016, today every association around the world receives $2 million every year as a minimum. So we increased the solidarity program, the solidarity payments, by a factor of 7 in 7 years. Our revenues didn't multiply by 7, they went up a little bit, but simply money does not disappear anymore in FIFA. Money goes where it has to go, and it goes in football development. So instead of 250,000 a year, 2 million a year, and this is the minimum, because of course, in addition to that, there is the travel compensation and the kit compensation for those associations who need it most, and there will be now as well the talent development program on top of all of this. So concretely, you can see the figures, 8 million per association for the cycle, plus 1.2 million for the travel and equipment contributions, 60 million for the confederations, and 5 million for the zones or regional confederations. Again, a significant increase compared to what was the case before. These are the proposals which, of course, will be submitted and hopefully then as well approved.
I'm still talking about the FIFA president and how he is taking the stakeholders through how FIFA is developing the game as well as spending the money. We will go next to the plan to invest in women football. They say the future of the game is feminine, and now there are plans to invest in women football. Women football is breaking records and needs more attention. So Gianni Infantino is also talking about that.
And we have to focus as well, of course, on women's football. We are at the eve of the Men's World Cup, but women's football is a top priority for all of us, and we have invested a lot in the last few years. 1 billion in the last 4 years, specifically dedicated to women's football. And we can see that today, 85% of our member associations, of all of you, have a women's football strategy in place, have teams in place, have leagues in place, have youth competitions in place. And this is exactly what we want. We need to work on the 15% remaining, and I'm sure at the next Congress we'll be at 100%. On governance matters, because this is also important, we have to focus on the financials, we have to focus on solidarity, we have to focus, obviously, on governance. If we wouldn't focus on governance, we wouldn't be able to invest so much in solidarity and in competitions.
There is a new innovation. FIFA talked so much about how the system of transfer or transfer of players, the movement of players is so, it's filled with bottlenecks, and there are a lot of clarity that is needed to make sure that the business of the movement of players is clear to all, transparent, and that has to do with the issue of governance in football. And the FIFA clearing house is there now. It's just launched. The FIFA just launched the FIFA clearing house, which is for the exchange of players, transfer, money made by every stakeholder in this process. So FIFA is telling us about what you need to know about what they call the Solidarity Fund as well. So listen to Gianni on this.
So we have created, as you know, and it went live 4 days ago, the FIFA Clearing House. The FIFA Clearing House is this place where transfer payments will go through in order to be paid to the different clubs. We start with training compensations, meaning that clubs have now to pay training compensations and solidarity mechanism through this clearinghouse, and we will make sure that it goes to the clubs who train the players. As you know, today, the reality is that every year clubs pay, acquiring clubs pay around 70 million for the training clubs. In reality, they should pay around 400 million, but this doesn't happen because of how the system is constructed. With this new system, with this FIFA clearinghouse, from one day to the next, as of 4 days ago, we can make sure that every dollar which has to go into training of clubs will go effectively into the training of clubs, meaning that every year all clubs training players in all of your associations all over the world will receive, instead of 70 million, 400 million US dollars, which is the percentage of the global transfer fees. So this is very important when it comes to making sure that there is transparency, there is integrity, and there is clarity in these money flows, and that small clubs who don't have maybe the means to pay a lawyer, to go and call and go to court to get the money from those clubs who don't pay, will automatically receive this money through this FIFA clearing house.
The next one has to do with regulation of the transfer market itself. There is the regulation of all that is involved. The player on the one side, the agents, and the club. There is so much opacity in that process, and there's so much issues around it. That's why FIFA has had to intervene on a number of occasions, and there are times that some of these issues have gone global. So what is FIFA doing to make sure that this particular process is well regulated, that everybody will have to enjoy the labor or their labor? Let's listen to Gianni Infantino talk about that too.
We have in the last year as well adopted several transfer system reforms, for example on the loans of players, on youth football, on women's football, and of course as well on coaches, which were not regulated so far. It seems bizarre, but it is the case now. Also coaches are regulated. And the next one coming up is the players' agents. The regulation is ready and it will come up later this year.
And also finally, before we go, Gianni Infantino talks about gender equality and gender opportunity has been presented by football. And we talk about how there will be opportunity for all, women, men football, and the youth as well, because there is so much to be done to make sure that as the game is developing, everybody is enjoying and benefiting from what the game has had to offer. This is what Gianni Infantino has to say about that.
Our main task, though, our main objective, of course, of all of us is to organize competitions. This World Cup is the pinnacle. The Men's World Cup, the Women's World Cup are the pinnacles. And we are, of course, engaging with everyone, with all confederations, with all associations. And we made real progress in this respect, and we will come out soon, hopefully with some important announcements there. But I really feel that we have a united front because we all share the same views. We want more youth competitions, so the under-17 will or should be played every year instead of every 2 years, and we have to increase the number of participants to give more chances for participations. We have to think, when it comes to women's football, on a women's club World Cup as well, because clubs are the basis of football, and we need to foster that as well at a global level. We need to think about the Olympic Games, why the men's competition has 16 teams and the women only 12. Why can the women not also have 16 teams in the Olympic Games? So these are topics that we will have to discuss and bring on the table. Some decisions are with us, others, when it comes to the Olympic Games, of course, are with the International Olympic Committee. When it comes to men's football as well, we need to see how can we make sure that there are more matches between countries of different confederations. We have some good ideas that we will obviously present to all of you in this respect, again with the collaboration and unity of everyone involved. And then the Club World Cup, which also for the men's competitions has to become a real big, important Club World Cup, giving real chances to more teams from all over the world to participate in a global competition. So this is all very much work in progress to make sure that we don't have more games, but we have more relevant games, more important games, more games between countries and clubs of different confederations, so a better balance in this respect. And we have always to make sure, I'm sure that everyone in this room agrees on that, when you speak about FIFA tournaments, we need to have the best of the world participating in these events and tournaments. So, in conclusion of this address, simply to say again, thank you to everyone. I just wanted to show you in a few minutes that we have been working in the last 7-8 months since the last Congress. We have been preparing not only for the World Cup, but also making sure that FIFA is more stable and solid than ever. Sure that you are proud of FIFA as we are, and remembering always that football unites the world. Again, it is a great pleasure for me to welcome you once again to your house, to our house in Doha, to celebrate football, to celebrate the World Cup, to celebrate unity, and to enjoy and have fun. Thank you very much.
Yes, thanks for joining me on this edition. Thanks to Gianni Infantino also for reaching out through this program. I want to believe, and I believe that you, if you are a stakeholder in the game of football, you've heard from Gianni Infantino as football business is growing and how we need to do everything to make sure that we grow the game, and not only that, the game also benefits the grassroots, benefits our local markets wherever you're watching from. So I wish you all the best, and let the game begin as it has already started in Qatar, and we will keep following it and we'll enjoy it till the end. Till I come your way next time, I'm yours truly today, tomorrow, and of the future in sports business, Jide Olaniran.
On the news tonight, petrol marketers warn of possible petrol price hike as fuel queues return. Federal High Court declares Osun local government election null and void. And electoral umpire INEC releases guidelines for political campaigns and party expenses. A warm welcome and many thanks for joining us in News Now. I am Folashade Ogurinde. Oil marketers have issued a stern warning to the public, asking them to expect to buy petrol at any price. Marketers under the aegis of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, said the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited refused to give its members products and that they made purchases of 205 naira from third parties. IPMAN National Controller Operations Michael Satuyi, in an interview with newsmen, said that members of the association had bought products for 205 naira and would add 13 naira transportation to the cost. Well, earlier I spoke to Michael Satuyi, IPMAN and National Controller Operations to shed more light on the issue. I began by asking him if allegations that IPMAN is the cause of the petrol scarcity experienced in the country is true.
It's what we see that you can buy. But the fuels are not in the depots. And even where the few ones we have, my members are buying at 207, 208, 210 per liter. By the time you get to our station, you're talking about 220 per liter. And they have to add their own margin. So if the fuel is there, there's no point of us not buying. But if the fuel is not there, there's nothing you can do. That is the reason why we said they should remove the monopoly of importation from the NPC. If they make this thing open to everybody, people can import fuel and the fuel will be all over the country. So my members are not the one that is causing this quality, but the system.
So in terms of regulation now, have you sat down with relevant authorities to express these grievances or these issues in order for the average Nigerian not to bear the brunt of this hike in the price of petrol?
The authority and system, they know what is happening. They are right. They know what's happening. They are the one that's giving out to the, product to those depot owners. So they know what's happening. If this thing is to be okay, let them give to IPMAN directly at official price. Then we are also going to sell at a very good price to Nigerians.
Well, that was IPMAN National Controller Operations Michael Satuyi giving more insight into the fuel scarcity in the country. Well, moving on, Justice Ayo Nathaniel Emmanuel of the Federal High Court sitting in Osogbo, the state capital, has nullified the just concluded local government election conducted in Osun State. The local government poll was conducted on Saturday, October 15, 2022, by the Osun State Independent Electoral Commission under the chairmanship of Segun Oladiton. Justice Emmanuel, in his judgment, declared the election null and void, adding that the election was held in contravention of Sections 29 and 32 of the Electoral Act of 2022. He also ordered the local government chairman and the councillors who were sworn in after the election to vacate local government secretariats and offices with immediate effect. Prior to the election, Segun Oladiton, chairman of OSAIC, announced that only one political party signified intention to contest in the election. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has approved the publication and release of the guidelines for political campaigns, as well as election expenses of political parties, candidates and aspirants. The National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye, in a statement, said the Commission met on Thursday and deliberated on several issues, including the publication and release of guidelines, as well as deliberated on the appointment of a secretary to INEC. Okoye said INEC has consequently uploaded the two documents to its website and social media handles, while copies will be made available to political parties, civil society groups, the media and other critical stakeholders. He reminded political parties of their obligation to submit the required reports to the Commission in accordance with the provisions of Section 90, subsection 4 of the Electoral Act of 2022 and the applicable sanctions for failure to comply as provided in Section 84 of the Electoral Act. And still on electoral matters, former INEC resident electoral commissioner of Akwa Ibom State, Mike Igini, has said the planned use of technology in next year's general election is already unsettling a segment of the political class. He made the submission in Abuja at an anti-corruption situation room organized by Heather Resource Center. In his presentation, former INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner of Akwa Ibom State, Mike Igini, assured that the outcome of the 2023 general elections will be decided at the polling units. Other stakeholders, including the convener, Heather Resort Center, emphasized on the need to change the current trend of cash flows during electioneering.
The ill of democracy can only be cured by more democracy. And that the 2023 election is one important election that all of us must pay attention, that all of us must do all that we need to do, because when there's a harmony of interests, it reduces opportunistic behavior. The future of our country is in our hands. How we want it to be is our hand.
Looking at what the new act has before us, it has actually empowered us to ensure that we demand for transparency and accountability. And having the kind of leadership that we desire will not only ensure that we are able to curb corruption to the barest minimum, but to ensure most of all sustainable development, which is what all of us are looking out for.
We're so concerned about how much of inducement goes to the electoral process and how electorates are many times also put under pressure with inducement from the candidates, the political parties and all of that. So the takeaway from here is that the election is not rigged only on election days. It happens before, and we need to start identifying those stakeholders that are responsible for some of these atrocities and activities.
Presidential candidates have been charged to prioritize 40% youth inclusivity in the next administration in 2023. A group of young Nigerian politicians gave the charge at a media conference in Abuja ahead of next year's general elections. The group also promised to support the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, and security agencies towards achieving credible polls. They added that politicians must not trade their conscience for dirty politics, which can cripple the goal of achieving a free and fair election to strengthen the nation's democracy.
In 2019, like I said, we had more young presidential candidate and aspirant in the history of this country. There were over 79 political parties and over 40 young candidates. That's something that has not been recorded before. And in 2019, even though we had an incumbent president, the youths were energetic. And that's what you see translated even to the NSAS, and now you see the youth all over social media. So if we started this as young candidate and aspirant, we don't want it to end. We must see through it. This is what we're going to be doing. And you can see we have one voice. We are demanding for what we think it belongs to. Right now, we don't have a lot of the candidates are not youth. But when it comes to appointment, we are placing demands. And if I hear you say correctly, you say when you use the word must, is this democracy? The appointment are not elected. So if they are not elected, they are appointed, I can say you must give me. Especially if as youth we are going to be voting for you. It's an appointment. And for the appointment, we demand it. And that's what we're doing. And we're going to be speaking with one voice.
Former President of the Senate, Ame Ebute, has attributed the high turnover of legislators in Nigeria as a byproduct of the nation's constitution. The former Senate President, who made this known when he gave a keynote address at the 5th edition of the National Legislative Conference in Abuja, explained that the provision of 4 years regular term has made members of the National Assembly and state assemblies prone to manipulation by the executive arm of government. While taking participants through the theme of the national dialogue, Ebute explained that the constitutional provision that's made it mandatory that all the 109 senators and 360 members of the National Assembly be subjected to election has continued to empower the executive arm to twist the process.
In America, the Constitution provides for election of only 1/3 or half of the senators. At the same time, members of the Congress, not all of them will have their seats declared vacant. So 1/3 or half are remaining back in the Senate. And if those that have gone for the election succeed, they will now come back to meet their old colleagues that are not going for election this time. So problems that we have with the legislative turnover of this country, the provisions of the Constitution that makes it possible for all the seats of the senators, all the seats of the 360 members of the House of Reps to be declared vacant at the end of 4 years.
You also need to open up to go into the area of institutional research and public awareness. Research will open up everything. Research and awareness will unbundle some of the lexicons and some of the intricacies of being a member of the National Assembly and some of the problems and challenges we face as members. It is only when you are able to beat the drum and for people to know and be aware that this is what the National Assembly is and what it should be, then we will continue to beat only about the bush.
The Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Issa Pantami, has announced that 18 federal universities will get broadband infrastructure worth over 16.7 billion naira. The minister disclosed this in Abuja during the launch of some projects earlier approved by the Federal Executive Council for the Communications Ministry. Speaking on the rate of unemployable youths in the country, the minister advised skill acquisition be prioritized rather than chasing certificates. Pantami also assured that the broadband infrastructure would cover other universities in the second and third phase of the project.
The Federal Executive Council, after a very robust deliberation, approved the memo with a sum of 16,703,863,327 naira, granting us the permission to go ahead and provide broadband to these selected higher institutions of learning. After the approval, I directed the National Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, to implement both of them on behalf of the federal government of Nigeria. What I'm trying to promote is the fact that if certificates are empty, then the aim of obtaining them has been defeated.
Personal identity of Nigerians during the last 2 years to a figure of almost over 90 million has definitely been a game changer. So the point is we are on the right track, and we're very lucky to have a team headed by Professor Issa Ibrahim. He's our leader.
Innovation happens in clusters. Honorable Minister always tells us 3 things drive digital economy: innovation, entrepreneurship, and skills. So to position Nigeria to drive value from this digital economy, what we are doing today is going to help us achieve that.
The Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Mohammed Abubakar, has said the prevalence of varieties and cultivars in sorghum farming is a major problem leading to low productivity. The minister made this known in Abuja while giving his remark on the report presentation of the Sorghum Technical Committee on streaming the existence of sorghum varieties to meet food and industrial demands. Speaking on the report presented, the committee chairman, Daniel Abba, explained that the report will improve productivity, enhance farmers' income, and increase the country's GDP.
The ministry has been promoting sorghum production and value addition towards self-sufficiency and meeting industrial requirement of the country. Of recent, the sorghum crop assumed great industrial prevalence, such as the many multinational companies, such as breweries, now use sorghum grades as adjunct up to 40% to barley-based mash for making alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages. For example, Maltina, Maltex, and Amstel malt.
Production has been increasing because of the demand by different industries. Just as we highlighted in our report, there are many industries that are using sorghum to substitute some of the grains they have been using before. We prefer to produce things that we can enjoy as a country than importing things from outside. And so this is part of the thing that is driving the utilization of sorghum for producing many products in this country.
Giving affirmation to the action call for gender equality and women empowerment, the Sister Act Global Visual Art Foundation, in collaboration with Beverly Fletcher Associates, have organized the Collabo 2 Succeed Art Exhibition in Lagos. The week-long exhibition, titled Strength of a Woman 2, showcased 33 art pieces exclusively by women from within and outside Nigeria. According to the organizers, the art exhibition also created opportunities for networking among the women and served as an avenue for them to discuss challenges that confront female visual artists globally.
This work, it's basically, I focus it on women, thinking about what women are passing through today. The work is tagged, the title, it's Strong, or Fertile and Strong. Why that is because she's pregnant, she's backing a baby. Basically, any woman in that situation will say, okay, she's very fertile. And at the same time, she's hawking, trying to support her husband to make 2 ends meet. That is a very responsible and hardworking woman. And the work, it's make use of fiber, beads, and textile. That is mixed media.
Mothers are always there. Mothers are your best friends. Someone you can always call in the middle of the night, any time of the day, that will listen to you, that can give you wonderful advice, you know. So you can see the adult there lying on her laps and trying to communicate, you know, showing his emotions, how unhappy he is about certain situations in his life. And the mom, I used wonderful, beautiful colors. The richness of the colors shows how mothers are, how rich their heart is, how kind, filled with so much love. So the mom is trying to comfort the adult, you know. So it basically is all about motherhood and how sweet mothers can be.
We'll take a break here, but still to come, Senegal beat host Qatar, record Africa's first win. Details of the story and more right after this break. Here is a recap of some of our top stories tonight. Oil marketers have issued a warning to the public, asking them to expect to buy petrol at any price. Marketers under the aegis of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, said the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited refused to give its members products and that they made purchases at 205 naira from third parties. We also told you that Justice Ayo Nathaniel Emmanuel of the Federal High Court sitting in Oshogbo, the Osun State capital, has nullified the just concluded local government election conducted in Osun State. Justice Emmanuel, in his judgment, declared the election null and void, adding that the election was held in contravention of Sections 29 and 32 of the Electoral Act 2022. Well, in case you missed any of our news bulletin or for more updates, do log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria. On Facebook, we are at TV360 Online. And now to COVID-19 updates. Residents and business groups navigating stricter COVID-19 control curbs in China are faced with frustration as the country reported yet another historic high of daily infections. The resurgence of COVID-19 cases in China, with 32,695 new local infections recorded on Thursday, has prompted widespread lockdowns and other curbs on movement and business, as well as pushback. Meanwhile, the French Chamber of Commerce in China has called on authorities to properly implement COVID optimization measures it announced 2 weeks ago. We'll take a breather here and be right back with more stories and business to stay with us. Welcome back. Let's now join Mary Kanu for more stories in business. Over to you, Mary.
Thank you for Lashade Helen. Welcome to Business News. The Central Bank of Nigeria says more than 4 million smallholder farmers across the country have benefited from its concessionary credit facilities. Governor of the CBN, Godwin Emefiele, made this known in Abuja at the International Inclusion Conference of 2022. Emefiele revealed that the Apex Bank plans to achieve 95% financial inclusion rate by 2024, added that the bank's focus on leveraging digital innovations to drive financial inclusion was one of the main motivations for the launch of the e-Naira, Nigeria's digital currency. An effort to revitalize Nigeria's maritime transport industry appears to be making some headway. This comes as the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu is set to commission an inland waterway control room and waterway emergency team by the end of the year. The governor, who was represented by the General Manager, Lagos State Waterways Authority, Oluwadamilola Emmanuel, explained that the move will enable proper monitoring of the waterways to ensure safety. Also speaking at the second annual Congress of the Council of Maritime Transport Unions and Association, the president of the association said he is optimistic that the event will foster unity among members and pave the way for an enabling business environment.
We started to introduce those water guards to be able to begin to monitor activities at those boat operators, but we realized that was not enough. We had to introduce technology. So any time from now, just waiting to be commissioned by Mr. Governor before the end of this year, we are setting up the very first of its kind in sub-Saharan Africa, an inland waterways control room. And the whole idea of that control room is to effectively monitor all of the boats moving on the inland waterways. And we believe that as we do that as well, it will help us with safety, it will help us with security, and most importantly help us to begin to generate accurate data that will help us be able to effectively make informed decisions for the waterways. And of course, we've also enhanced our emergency and rescue units because we realized that it was very, very important to be able to have quicker response to emergencies, especially when they happen on the waterways. And we've been able to enhance this significantly, and we now have this in 3 major locations on the waterways.
I know in the nearest future, Comtra will be able to, because there's strength in unity, and since they're able to achieve this now, we'll be able to face head-on whatever challenges or difficulty we are seeing in the industry. And I can assure you, by the special grace of God, we are going to surmount all our problems.
Well, we'll take a break now and return with stock market review. Well, just a day after the country's finance minister said investor confidence is one of the key ingredients that will accelerate the growth of Nigeria's capital market, investors showed up and boosted gains on the floor of the NGX as the bull took charge to close the week on a positive note. The market is up 2.04% as the all-share index also leapt higher into the 47,000 level. Investors gained 517 billion naira as market capitalization closed at 25.901 trillion naira. Red Star X and Regalins drove the market's performance as market breadth also closed positive with 18 stocks recording gains against 8 losers. Now, despite the gains, overall market performance shows a decline in volume and deals. Now will switch to some select global stocks. In the US and UK, stocks are trading high at 1.29% and 0.52%, while Japan's Nikkei is trading down on the news that China's COVID-19 cases hit a record high. Nikkei is currently down at 0.35%. That's the stock market report. For Lashade, back to you.
Many thanks, Mary, for that update. And on the foreign scene, Ukraine has been battling to reconnect water and electricity services after a barrage of Russian missiles and drones hit energy infrastructure on Wednesday, leaving nearly 80% of the country in the dark. Authorities in Kyiv disclosed that as of Thursday evening, 60% of homes were still suffering from emergency outages. According to him, with temperatures falling below zero, authorities have been told to restore water services, but were still working to get the lights and heat back on. And in sports, Senegal has defeated host Qatar 1-3 in a Group A match at the 2022 World Cup, becoming the first African side to win a game in the tournament. The Teranga Lions lost their first match to the Netherlands but bounced back on Friday to revive their qualification hopes. Goals from Boule Dia, Famara Didio and Abama Dieng were enough to beat Qatar, who will be eliminated if Group A leaders Netherlands avoid defeats to Ecuador later on Friday. And that's the size of our news bulletin. Many thanks for watching. I am Folashade. Have a great day. Bye for now.
COVID-19 is an infectious disease caused by a new coronavirus introduced to humans for the first time. It is spread from person to person, mainly through the droplets produced when an infected person speaks, coughs, or sneezes. These droplets can land in the mouths or noses of people who are nearby. These droplets are too heavy to travel far in the air. They only travel approximately 1 meter and quickly settle on surfaces. This is the reason person-to-person spread is happening mainly between close contacts. The exact time that the virus can survive on surfaces is not yet known. So it is wise to clean surfaces regularly, particularly in the vicinity of people infected with COVID-19. Hands touch many surfaces, which can be contaminated with the virus. You should therefore avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth, since contaminated hands can transfer the virus from the surface to yourself. When coughing or sneezing, cover your mouth and nose with the bend of your elbow or use a disposable tissue. If a tissue is used, discard it immediately into a closed bin. The most effective way to prevent the spread of the new coronavirus is to clean your hands frequently with an alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. This will eliminate the virus if it is on your hands. Stay healthy and prevent the spread of COVID-19.